All right, let's talk about one of the biggest, most fundamental shifts happening in our world right now: the revolution of money itself. Yeah, the cash in your pocket, the numbers you see in your bank app, it's all on the brink of a massive, radical change.
I mean, let's be honest. The physical money we've known for centuries is already well on its way to becoming a museum piece. And while that's not exactly a new idea, the speed at which it's happening now, it's accelerating like never before.
And that, right there, is the trillion-dollar question. What comes next? The answers is being fought over right now. It's a showdown, really, between radical new technologies and the most powerful financial institutions on the planet. And they're all fighting for the future of what's in your wallet.
So, to really get a handle on where all of this is headed, we first have to understand the powerful forces that are pushing us in this direction. Our entire relationship with money is being completely rewired, whether we've noticed it or not. It really boils down to three huge forces all hitting at once. First, there's us. We're all demanding that our digital payments be faster, easier, and just better. Second, because of that, physical cash is just vanishing from our daily lives. And third, you have the wild card, the explosion of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, which proved that an alternative to the traditional system was actually possible. That got everyone, especially governments and banks, to sit up and pay very close attention. This whole idea of money becoming less physical, it isn't new at all. It's a trend that's been going on for ages. We started with actual stuff, commodities like grain or shells. Then we moved to paper that represented stuff, like a certificate for gold. Then, around 1971, we switched to fiat money, which has value just because the government says it does. And today? Well, most of the money we use is already just electronic bits and bytes in a bank's computer. And then everything got a massive jolt. The catalyst that kicked this latest phase of the revolution into high gear, well, that was the arrival of Bitcoin. It introduced a completely radical new way of thinking about what money could even be. So before Bitcoin, any kind of digital money absolutely needed a middleman, like a bank, to prevent something called double spending, to make sure you couldn't spend the same digital dollar twice. Bitcoin's genius was that it solved this problem using only technology. It created a secure system that could run all by itself, with no banks or governments required.
And when you put Bitcoin and traditional money side by side, the differences are just night and day. Regular money is issued by a central bank. Bitcoin is created by a computer algorithm. The supply of dollars or euros is unlimited. Bitcoin is hard capped at 21 million units forever. And if something goes wrong with the dollar, the central bank is on the hook. With Bitcoin, nobody is. Okay, so the technology is brilliant, no doubt. But that brings us to the most important question. Can this groundbreaking invention actually work as money in the real world? Well, the short answer seems to be no, not really. For one, its price is just wildly volatile. Imagine the price of a gallon of milk changing dramatically by the hour. It's just not a reliable way to store value. Because of that, it acts more like a risky speculative asset than a stable currency. And then there's its use in illicit activities. Its semi-anonymous nature has been a magnet for the black market, with some studies suggesting nearly half of its transactions are tied to illegal stuff.
Now, you can bet that the world's most powerful financial institutions, the central banks and governments, they weren't just sitting back and watching this crypto disruption happen. They decided it was time to strike back. But here's the big twist. They're not jumping on the Bitcoin bandwagon. Not at all. Instead, they're looking at the technology behind it and saying, hey, we can use these ideas to build our own version, one that we can control. And that brings us to this new thing you're going to hear about constantly: a central bank digital currency, or CBDC. Just think of it as an official digital dollar or a digital euro. It's not a private crypto. This is sovereign money, issued directly from the central bank to you. This money flower diagram looks a little complex, but it's a really great way to see exactly where these CBDCs fit into the picture. It sorts money by a few key properties, and you'll see CBDCs land in a really unique spot. They're digital, they're issued by the central bank, and this is the key part: they can be designed to be available to absolutely everyone, just like physical cash is today. And this is where the debate gets really intense. Because creating a CBDC isn't just a simple technology upgrade. It forces us into a massive trade-off, one with some incredible potential benefits and some equally huge risks. So, on the one hand, the potential upsides are amazing. We're talking about hyper efficient, super safe payment systems. We could bring millions of unbanked people into the financial system. Governments could get powerful new tools like sending stimulus money directly into people's digital wallets. Plus, it could make things like tax evasion and money laundering way, way harder. It's no wonder over 85% of the world's central banks are looking into this.
But, and this is a really big but, the risks are just as significant. I mean, if everyone has a super safe digital account with the central bank, what happens to our regular commercial banks? You could also see digital bank runs in a crisis. And then there's the biggest concern of all, privacy. What does it mean for our freedom if a government has a record of every single transaction we ever make? 43%. Just let that number sink in for a second. It's a number that central bankers absolutely cannot ignore. Because that number, it gets right to the heart of the public's biggest fear. When the European Central Bank asked people what they thought about a digital euro, a whopping 43% said privacy was their #1 concern. We want the convenience, for sure, but we are deeply worried about who might be watching. But this story doesn't even stop there. The future of digital money goes even further, into territory that sounds like something straight out of science fiction, and it's deeply controversial. We are talking about something called programmable money. This is a total game changer. It's not just about paying for things faster, it's about making the money itself intelligent, with rules and behaviors baked right into the code of the currency. So here's a real-world example of how that could work. Imagine the government sends out a stimulus payment directly to your digital wallet. But this money is programmed. It could have rules that say it can only be spent on essentials like groceries or rent. Or maybe it even has an expiration date, forcing you to spend it quickly. The power to shape and control economic behavior is just immense. This whole digital money revolution promises incredible efficiency and convenience, but it also forces us to confront a final fundamental question. When our money is no longer just a passive tool that we use, but an intelligent system with rules that we didn't write, who is really in control? Is it you, or is it the code?